The most recent Scooby-Doo film released was 2022's Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo. Released just 2 years earlier was Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo. These films are both key points in establishing the continuities for the series, and offer fairly fun and unique takes on the franchise. Trick or Treat was released in last October, and was directed by Audie Harrison, a newcomer to the franchise. It uses the art style of Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, which has low-detailed painted backgrounds, contrasted with clean modern animation for characters and objects. It's an attempt to emulate the classic Where Are You style, but with a more modern twist. Personally, I'm not a fan, especially when they use exaggerated proportions, which come off just as ugly. There's also some weird sexualization of the characters, especially the new villain, Coco Diablo. At one point she strikes an impossible pose to show off her butt and breasts, and it just feels off. Similarly, Velma's proportions have been changed to make her resemble Daphne, with an hourglass figure which feels just another push in this direction. The basic plot is that the gang has discovered that a singular person, Coco, has been making all the costumes for the villains they caught over the years. They catch her, but then all of their interesting mysteries dry up, and they grow bored. On Halloween night, however, doppelganger ghosts of themselves show up, and they have a real mystery again. In a later sequence, they visit the jail Coco, as well as all of their other culprits, have been taken to. This ties together Where Are You?, the Scooby-Doo show, the Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo / Puppy Hour, the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries, and A Pup Named Scooby-Doo. It also offers a date, as there is a 1-year time jump with a 2001 calendar on the wall. This shifts the number of the series forward a few decades, but nothing inherently contradicts it. So this is Continuity A, which features no supernatural elements or crossovers. In terms of characters, they are fairly standard versions. Velma is still the geeky, technology-loving one, although in this film she's confirmed to be gay, with a huge crush on Coco. This does mean that in Continuity A, she has always been gay. Fred still takes on a leadership role, and is a little bit dopey, although it's not as exaggerated as other takes. Daphne embraces the fact that she doesn't have a specific role, and tries to find one throughout the film, which is a good change that doesn't just make her an action lady. Shaggy and Scooby are the same food-driven maniacs they always are, although Scooby's actually kinda lame in this film, with some of the worst jokes, and some real bad Marvel-esque humor. The villains for the film are the Misery Company, a group of undead ghosts. They're actually some of the more gruesome designs than the franchise has ever done, with the Fred XP having guts hanging out, and a Velma stand-in having her brain visible. The Scooby and Shaggy versions are mostly bone, with creepy design. Of course, in the end, they're revealed to just be robots, operated by the warden of the prison, who had saw how sad the gang, and especially Fred, had become without proper mysteries, so made one up. It's surprisingly wholesome. Overall, the comedy in the film is pretty solid. There's some good one-off jokes, and a few recurring ones about how inept Velma is at flirting, as well as Freddy trying to use the mystery machine, despite it being blown up. The weak point is really Shaggy and Scooby, who do a number of watch gags which weren't funny the first time, and there's an idea repeated ad nausea that they want things to hurry up so they can go trick-or-treating. Shout out to the prison being within spitting distance of the elementary school. Let's talk about Coco, who's one of the new main characters. She's played by Mira Velasco, who has done a bit of other voice work, although this is her first Scooby-Doo role. She offers a strong personality, acting as a Hannibal Lecter stand-in for one scene before being let out of prison. She's a good addition to the group, and although she shares some traits with Velma, arrogance and smarts, she also offers a more confident and confrontational element. After they catch the warden, there's a final action sequence where they don some of the iconic costumes from Where Are You? And go around capturing the criminals he has let out, which is fun. This is also what ties together all the series, as there is a long shot featuring the dozens of people they've captured. At the end, Daphne is able to find her place as the leader of Mystery Inc. Velma shows promise of a future with Coco, and Shaggy and Scooby get their candy. Overall, the film is fairly solid, with a few new and interesting ideas. The animation and humor let it down a bit, but with well-designed monsters, good character work, and some nostalgic references, it fell solidly into B tier. Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo was released in 2020, and billed as the first Halloween-based film in the franchise. It's not, that was Goblin King, but it's the first with it in the name, so that's something. The basic summary of the film is wild. The Scooby Gang attend a parade led by Elvira, and then Scarecrow attacks. They defeat him, when suddenly mutant jack-o'-lanterns appear to terrorize the town. With assistance from Bill Nye, they're able to fight back against the vegetable creatures. The film was written and directed by Maxwell Adams, best known for creating the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. A similar style of humor can be found all throughout the film, which is arguably the most reference-laden in the franchise. These include Spaceballs, Alien, Predator, Planet of the Apes, Knight Rider, Twisted Metal, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Westworld. There's also a car chase that lasts for about half an hour, which seems to be an homage to Mad Max Fury Road. The similarities between this film and Trick or Treat are fairly numerous. They both have a Hannibal Lecter conversation with a previously caught villain that they then free, both involve pumpkins, both destroy the mystery machine, and the villains in both are mechanical. Halloween is definitely the more action-packed of the two, however, with at least 5 distinct set pieces and a surprising amount of pumpkin guts. One palette shift, and they're fighting zombies. There are extended sequences with the gang beating the tar out of pumpkins in surprisingly brutal ways, with punji bits, wooden arrows, and giant hammers. At one point, Velma even shoves a group into a buzzsaw. It's very much the Samurai Jack approach where, if they were humans it would be R-rated, but they're not, so it's fine. The film is set in the crossover continuity, so the new Scooby-Doo movies and Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, as both the Ghost of the Three Stooges and Phyllis Diller are mentioned. They're also in Crystal Cove, which is a setting for Mystery Incorporated, tying it all together into Continuity B. There's still a few references to Where Are You, but that can be assumed an immutable point of connection between all universes, like the Dark Tower. The film begins with the parade featuring Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, who was previously featured in Scooby-Doo Return to Zombie Island. She's best known as the host of Movie Macabre, a horror film showcase from the 1980s. The Scooby Gang have determined that the Scarecrow, Jonathan Crane from the Batman universe, was planning to attack the event. They launch a preemptive strike and manage to defeat him, unmasking his identity as the Haunted Scarecrow in a solid bit. There are some great freeze-frame jokes throughout the film, starting with some newspaper clippings in the opening montage, but also the Scarecrow being right next to a red herring truck, which in itself is a reference to a pup named Scooby-Doo. Later, an email is shown from the Scarecrow asking for drones for 100% legal medical use. There's also all the costumes featured in the final scene, with references to Hanna-Barbera, as well as other Warner Bros. Properties. Overall, the humor is much more hit than miss, although Daphne has some very cringy dialogue early on. It tapers off after the first act. Even the villain's plan has an amusing payoff and offers a bit of continuity, linking up this film with the last two, creating a pseudo-trilogy. Most of the humor with Bill Nye works as well, with him getting overly excited to explain scientific topics, even when it involves life-threatening situations. He's an odd inclusion, but it works. In terms of other characters, the Scooby Gang is probably at their most competent. Velma makes an app capable of taking down Scarecrow's fear drones, and later gets involved in some physical violence, taking down the giant pumpkin herself. The film also offers a bit of character development for her, being forced to confront her fears and insecurities, and in doing so can figure out the mystery. It's the same sort of arc that occurs in Velma the series, but done much better and more concise. Fred takes a bit of a backseat this time, not even driving the mystery machine as it's been destroyed. He does lead the gang in their final attack, setting up a number of traps. He also does his best Arnold impersonation, and has feats to back it up. Daphne spends most of the film as the apprentice to Elvira, trying to become her. They even switch clothes at one point, starting with a corset, which is a bit odd, but the whole gang are quick change artists, so it's reasonable. Scooby and Shaggy do their normal routine, and there's no real growth or change, but it works. In terms of new characters, Elvira joins the gang on their adventures, offering quippy commentary and acting similar to Morticia Addams. She's generally a fun, dynamic character. The Scarecrow joins the group briefly, and offers an intimidating presence that's elevated by solid voice performance by Dwight Schultz, best known for playing Murdoch on the A-Team. Then finally there's Mike and Michelle, two ordinary people who are forced into action. Mike plays the straight man, an important role with all the nonsense going on, and is a decent comedic foil. Michelle, his daughter, is your average kid, but gets a couple of good lines. The film is overall great. The first act is a little bit lacking, especially in the intermediate period between catching the Scarecrow and the jack-o'-lantern attacks, but everything after is entertaining, funny, and exciting. It can feel a bit overly referential, but even the extended scenes have a solid enough payoff. The animation is well done, the voiceover is solid, and the general mystery is easy to pick up on, but not blatant enough that it's cheap. From all the content I've covered so far, this is the best, and it belongs in the A tier. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and be well.